Hello and good evening. Welcome to Occult Priestess's channel. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Occult Priestess. That's OP for short. I want to say hi to everyone in the chat room and welcome you here on this frigid Saturday evening. We hope you are staying warm. And let's go over to the chat and see what's going on over there and sound check. I did notice that Yona came in earlier today. Hey, Yona, how are you doing this evening? And let's see, we've got Claire Bear. She was number 2. So sometimes when people get into the chat rooms, they'll put gold because they're first and silver because they're second. So there's our first 2 of the evening. And then we were joined by Ian. You'll remember him from a past show. And then we were joined by Tom Cooper. And I'm just catching up with the chat over here. And Jonas dropped some links to his hot, sweet music. So go over there and check out Jonas' presentations as a DJ. And so it is 7:07 on 2/4/2023. And again, just checking everything. So earlier today, the author and personality, Micah Dank, and I got together once again to discuss deep esoteric topics. And what I have to present to you this evening is that recorded live stream video from earlier today. So Saturday, this is my second time doing this today. So who loves you, babe? Oh, I do. I love you. And I'm so glad that you guys are hanging out with me this evening. And I forgot to turn that off. So I hope that the sound just got a lot better in here. And looking over at the chat again. Let's go. And the hilarious thing is I had to eat something quick and easy right before, I came on the stream to ground me and just to nourish me. And the only thing I could think of that was quick and easy in my fridge was grilled cheese. And what's super hilarious is that Claire Mathis in the chat said, I'm sending everyone an Astral grilled cheese, smiley faces. So, wow, she read my mind, dude. And then Jonas said he put up earlier this week a video song montage dealing with macaroni and cheese. And Ian says cheese curds. So there we are, everybody. We're all caught up with the Chuck E. Cheese. And so having done the interview earlier today, I invited Micah Dank on to the show tonight so that we would watch our work, and talk about it if we had extra stuff to add, because sometimes you're like, oh, darn, I wish I'd said that, but I didn't get that in edgewise kind of thing. So, interesting. We'll see what Micah Dank and I have to say to each other on video to each other. It's a little inception going on there. And so it is my birthday month of February. I am a wood tiger in the Chinese, Aquarius, a Western, and I'm an INFP, I believe, if you go by the Cursian temperament sorter. I am a numerological number 7. Oh, that's hard to say. So yeah, my life path is a 7. Or is that my soul urge and life path? Because they're 2 different names or 2 different numbers. One is your name added up, the whole name, and the other is your birthday added up. So my birthday added up is a 7, and I have the honor, I suppose, or disgrace, depending on your point of view, of sharing my birthday with Mr. Alex Jones of InfoWars or Band.video and all of that kind of stuff. I really do. One of my birthday wishes is to do a better Alex Jones impression. So, being that it is my birthday month, I have a special guest next week. Saturday, February 11th, Alex Jones and I will be turning 49 years old. And I have a special guest. And so while we're waiting on Micah Dank, I would like to call this special guest on the telephone so that they can announce themselves. So if you give me, oh, happy birthday, Tom Cooper, January 30th. Woot, woot. Happy birthday there, Tom Cooper, another fellow Aquarian. That is awesome. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mute myself just in case there's like some really smart people out there that can hear phone numbers. So here we go. How do we mute? There we go. Okay, my friends, live here in the chat room. You can see I'm holding my cell phone in my hand. I have muted for a moment so that I could dial the number. And now our very special guest for next week, for Saturday, for my birthday, is about to say hello. So hey, say hello.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Oh
yeah,
my
I'm really
goodness.
looking forward to your birthday. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get into some wild stuff for sure. All kinds of places everywhere to go, and then just life. Oh my God, you know.
It is going to be such a blast. I am so excited. And we can say hi to, go ahead, Freeman, say hi to Micah Dank, your past guest.
Hey, Micah.
That's awesome. So, yeah, there you go, kids. That's our surprise. It's my birthday present from Mr. Freeman Fly. And I'm just really excited about that. So, Freeman, thank you for guest starring just now. And we will welcome you with open arms next week, live streaming from Rockfin.
Well, there should be a cake, too.
Ooh, I think that sounds great. Let's get that. Let's get into it. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Fantastic.
All right. Have a great evening, Freeman.
Absolutely.
Good night.
Hey, good thing balloons are bursting over our heads, so it's like a party already.
I saw a meme today that if the Japanese invaded, it'd be a bunch of lanterns hanging in the sky. Very timely joke, Freeman. Thank you for adding to the fodder.
You gotta laugh at it.
You really do.
All right. I'll see you Saturday.
Excellent. You hear that, kids? He's coming on Saturday. Thank you, Freeman. FreemanTV.com. New episode tonight. Okay, goodbye, Freeman.
Goodbye.
That's awesome. Isn't that great, kids? I can't wait. So my birthday show. Woo, woo, woo. That's going to be so much fun. He's going to be here in this room, like here, and it's going to be awesome. And so in the chat, we're talking a lot about cheese and birthdays, okay? But without any further delay, because we just like talked to a superstar, we're going to go over to another superstar who was just on freaking Coast to Coast AM last night. Where does he come next? Here, my channel. That's right. Okay, so we're going to bring on our very good friend and astrotheologist, Micah Dank. Micah Dank, everybody.
I get to see you twice in one day. How am I so lucky?
It's karma.
It is. It
so,
is.
I mean, are you able to look at the chat over there in the Rockfin?
I clicked on the link that you sent me. I'm looking at the comments.
Yeah.
I just see a comment from Mr. Beast.
Sweet. Go ahead and read that out. Those are our friends.
I'll make it 20K.
What are they talking about? 20K. I see like Claire Mathis said, Freeman is such a sweetheart. So we're over at Rockfin / Occult Priestess. And it's free tonight for everyone. Isn't that
I can
nice?
see here.
Uh-oh, it's frozen.
If I could do both at the same time.
Oh, you're on your other laptop, your old one.
Yeah. I'm in StreamYard right now. You sent me the link. You DM'd me the link, so that's what I clicked on. That's what I'm going through.
Yeah, Rockfin chat does not show up in StreamYard, but your bandwidth might not be good enough to see the chat.
I gotta set up my new computer. You got a following, girl.
What? Oh, yeah, sure I do. Yay, Christy Bray is in the chat. And Claire says, hey, Micah. And Christy Bray actually brought up one of the topics you brought up earlier today in our video chat. But I'm not sure if you're like still stuck. Christy, if you can hear this, maybe you could text about.
I'm in. Can you hear me?
You're in and out.
Yeah. So I just tried to run Rockfin too, and my computer yelled at me. So I'm going to be here. Can you do that thing where you pull the? Can you do that thing where you pull the chats, the comments from people, and put it on screen?
You mean like copy paste? No, that's way too much work.
Okay. All right. So just read them out. So what did she bring up?
So I was trying to, because I know she's driving. She's on a trip, and I'm going to get her to try to text it because she had seen a video and she apparently sent it to me, and it was about anointing and what you were talking about earlier, holding your seed.
Yeah.
But I would like her to kind of put that in a question because I don't remember how she worded everything.
Okay.
So, but we are on Rockfin and we've got 10 people in the chat so far, which is a lot for, us just starting. So I'm very happy about that. Great to see you guys out there talking to one another. And happy birthday to all my Aquarians out there. And Micah, are you a Libra? Is that right?
So I'm a September 26th,
Leo?
so I'm a Libra cusp Virgo.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm actually an Aquarius rising, and my mother is February 17th, so she's an Aquarius.
Awesome. That's really cool. And born after the 10th is a special Aquarian, if you ask me. But I've read so much on it. It's really cool. That was really weird. I've never done a call before. Could you hear Freeman on the other end?
I did. Yeah, we heard him loud and clear.
Oh, good. That's exciting. It's like new technology. Wow, that's amazing. So
what kind of cake are you going to get?
What's that?
What kind of cake are you going to get?
Chocolate. See, Freeman takes me to this one place here locally it's called Stacks. And it has the best, almost like French pastries and just yum. So I'm hoping we might get over that way soon. But yeah, he's a great cook too. So who knows? He could surprise me. He's full of surprises. And that's fun having a friend, somebody like that, somebody who's, advanced in knowledge, but not only that, is thoughtful.
Yeah.
he's not like a cruel genius or anything. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, you
but
find that a
stop
lot.
talking about him.
You find that with a lot of people these days. They know so much, and then as they age, they just get bitter with their knowledge when people don't accept it immediately, and they just get angry, and it takes away from the beauty of their messages.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. Flash. I know that one network that you're talking about. So all Christy said was yes. So we're still waiting for Christ oil. Well, yeah, Christy, but you're talking about anointing. Maybe you should like pull over for a second instead of trying to text and drive? That's scary.
Please don't text and drive. Please don't.
Right. She is professional though. I will let you know. Don't try this at home, kids. But yeah, she was talking about Christ oil, I suppose, as semen. But here I am. I'm going to put my foot in my mouth because she really has to explain what she's saying. And Yona's in the chat saying hey to everybody. And so after we get this question from Christy, which it will come up again later when we're showing the video, we'll get to the video is what I'm saying. So because we did a killer afternoon together, and I want everyone on my channel to be able to see that. That was a lot of fun.
It was. You say that I ask really great questions.
You did. And it's enjoyable. There's like no pressure. That's why even tonight, I usually get so nervous before live streams, but I know I got a strong, capable man over there holding the fort down. So I don't feel so weird about, the show and everything.
No, we had an amazing show.
I would like to say, we'll transition into, oh my gosh, Jordan Peterson, Bill Cooper. No, we'll transition into what you and I are planning to do later in March. But I do want to shout out a very special client of mine, Nick Duchesne, who lost a loved one that he's very close to most of his life. So I just want to say, Nick, you are on my mind. I'm sending you love and healing thoughts, and I will talk to you very shortly, coming up here in a couple of days. So hugs and kisses to Nick and what he's going through right now. And then that transitions into what we're going to do in March. Tell us all about it.
I'm not sure. It's still very early to decide if we're going to do this every year. I would love to do this every year. But last year, Jordan Maxwell passed March 23rd last year. And he was so influential. Priestess had, such good memories with him. He really got to know me and my work towards the end, and he saw how I was going with it. And it was just a blessing to know the man. And we did a memorial episode. And to this day, out of like the 600 podcasts that I've done, it was my favorite one. It was me, Priestess, and Truth Seeker, the rapper. And we just sat here. Priestess made a bunch of videos. We watched some clips of Jordan. We had music. We said our pieces. It got very emotional. And it was just such a good healing experience. And I reached out to Priestess and I was like, listen, it's February right now. March in the corner. Let's do it again. Let's do a 1 year in memorial. And instead of you doing all this work and breaking your back to make all these videos, why don't you just find some clips of him that we could share and talk about, and we could bring people into the chat, not just into the chat, but on screen with us. And we can have conversations about how Jordan affected their lives and how he really pioneered this. Because Priestess, for everything that I do with my work, for people out there who know who I am, for everything that I do with my work and how hard I work at it and everything, this man gave me the foundation of it. And he did this without the internet. He literally went to the library and found book after book and pieced this together himself, which is uncanny. That is not something that we do in civilization anymore. Now, we know that the internet lies to us about certain things.
Right.
But it is an important tool to use at your fingertips. And we decided we're going to do an in memorial. Now, I don't know if Truth Seeker is going to come on. He said possibly to me. He texted me possibly, which means if he's busy, because I think he's recording music again.
Nice.
So he might be doing something. And he actually told me, he reached out to me the day before he went on Coast to Coast, because I got him on Coast to Coast. And
yeah, I remember that.
He reached out to me the day before, and he's like, I'm working on a new rap song, and he shouted me out in it. So,
oh wow, sweet.
I can't wait to hear the song. He's just such a great esoteric rapper, guys. YouTube Truth Seeker, Seekah. on YouTube and listen to some of his esoteric music, or raps, I should say. But yeah, no, so it might be the three of us, but worst case scenario, it'll be just the two of us. Not that that's bad by any means. And we'll have some videos. We'll do a nice little soul cleaning that day, because this man is the first one, at least I can speak of, that really brought me up to everything. The first video I ever saw of him was completely by accident, and I watched a 3-hour lecture where he talked about how everything goes back to Saturn worship. And I had never heard of astrology, astrotheology, or anything before then. This was 11 years ago. And he's just been such an influence on me, and he was a good friend towards the end. And that's what we're going to do. And he died March 23rd. March 24th is a Friday. So I think we're going to do it that Friday.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I like that. And then because you have something the next day, yes?
I do. It's my 5-year wedding anniversary on March 25th.
That's exciting. This whole time I've been listening, I can task, but I can't find the Jordan Maxwell video on Rockfin, which is very interesting. If you guys want to go look for that for me, that would be great. I know that it was censored somewhat on YouTube, so I'm not really seeing it there either. So we may have to just repost that sucker.
Yeah, I think we should do that anyway, but I think you DM'd me it. Hold on, let me scroll back.
Okay. Yeah, if you could display it, that's what I was looking to do, is display it. The video for the funeral we basically had for the community for him, for Jordan Maxwell. It was really cool. So when Micah asked me, would you like to go back into that topic and get some feels? And I was like, yeah, I would. We'll do that.
I think it's going to be a great episode.
And you look for clips too that inspire you as well, and we'll do like a watch along.
I will. He had so many problems in life because of what he got into. Priestess, like that podcast that we did earlier today that I put up that you're going to show. If we like streamed that out 50, 60 years ago, they would have killed us.
Oh, definitely. I think that's how I died in most of my past lives, period.
Yeah.
But Claire Mathis.
We had these little situations where we would just talk, and then they would weigh you next to a duck or whatever. They used to do in the past.
Yeah. So Claire in the chat, Claire Mathis says, OP, you've met Jordan Maxwell before, right? Yeah, I met him a couple of times. Oh, great. Ian, you found it. All right. So Ian went ahead. Thank you, Claire. Excellent. And Ian went ahead and found the video. I couldn't find it for my life. So I'll throw it up here real quick. Whoops. Still fairly new at this, friends. So share screen. Chrome, Jordan, share.
While you're doing that, Priestess, I just wanted to fill the dead air with something. I wanted to let you know. I had Addy Ads on my channel to talk about what he went through in Brazil.
Yeah, I saw that episode. And Addy Ads, you guys, if you don't know him, ADDY space ADDS. Stay frosty. He's here on Rockfin. Go ahead and follow Addy Ads. He was on my birthday show with Micah, Dank, and Christy, who has finished her question in the chat, by the way. And also, so you can see, this is the Jordan Maxwell In Memoriam, a community live stream. And that's what we did here on Rockfin. And there's Trusika and Mr. Micah Dank with his telephone. And I'm just going through it. We all talked about Jordan and just had, a really heartfelt shared evening.
I think we all cried at one point.
Yeah, isn't that sweet?
We all did. Not at the same time, like after sex, but like we all cried.
I don't know. Is that an orgy? But yeah, I'm trying to find there. Just for a flash, there's Jordan. There he is from your phone. That's what you were showing us.
Yeah.
And look at us smiling, celebrating his life and his legacy. Yeah. So, all right. I'm going to take that off the screen so I don't get confused anymore. And, so, yeah, let's get to Christy real quick.
Sure.
All right. I pulled over for a few. She's literally pulled over. I don't think it has anything to do with anointing. Sorry, that was my thing. It's about getting the Christ oil that resides in the brain to come down the spine or up the spine. Can't remember now. When you do this, you extend your life and health. So take it away.
Yeah. So it's actually when it goes up. On our podcast today, we talked about the most dangerous drug that you can ever do is ecstasy. Because what ecstasy does is it dries out your spinal fluid. And you don't get that back. That doesn't come back. And your chrism, when you practice semen retention, it travels up your 33 vertebrae, which is also known as Jacob's ladder, and it rests. It's crucified in the skull of Golgotha, or in the place of Golgotha, Golgotha meaning skull. It's the base of the brain where the two hemispheres meet. It's the pineal gland. And that's basically what it does. Now, we had this discussion that it's a little different for women than it is for men, because when men release, when they have an orgasm, it depletes them of zinc and it depletes them of energy. Whereas women can have multiple orgasms and then just go play basketball, which is crazy. But it's different. See, it depletes you. So when you practice retention, it does a couple things. Number one, you raise your chrism faster. And
now, you're calling it chrism, which is Christ, which is anointing, which is where I got confused. So is there any other chrism meaning?
I just understand it as that, to be honest. I don't know if
like
you
anointing fluid that comes, but it's an energetic fluid or a physical fluid.
It's actually both.
Okay.
It's actually both. It's interesting too, because so in Greek, Christos means oil, right? They talk about Jesus walking on water, right? Well, the sun walks on water too, if you've ever seen the sunset on a lake before.
My face walks on water. I'm a reflection.
But it's more than just the two of them. In Greek, Christos means oil. Oil also walks on water when you pour it on water. It's a triple entendre. So there's
Does sperm float on water?
Huh?
Does sperm float? I don't know.
I've never tried.
Okay. I figured you'd have found out one way or another.
I think it like sits in the middle like a medium.
Okay. Meow.
But yeah, no. So it's incredibly important to raise your chrism. It's incredibly important. So she was
saying that it gives you longer life and like pretty skin and stuff.
Well, our lifespan is based on something called, and I know you don't believe in DNA. We've had this conversation.
Before you say it, I know you don't believe in DNA.
Right, but they talk about the caps on the DNA strands called telomeres.
Right.
And what happens is those telomeres, they degrade over time, and then when they're gone, that is when the death process kicks in. So there are ways that you can extend the life of these telomeres. Raising your chrism is one of them.
Sweet. That was very eloquently put. Because, I hate physical stuff, descriptions and everything, but that I totally got that. It was very succinct. And we're going to say hello out there to Tommy Tickle. Welcome to the chat room on this Saturday night, Tommy Tickle. It's nice to have you. Well, so that Micah and I can take a little bit of a break, I'm going to bring up our video. And in about between 5 and 8 minutes, Micah, we'll come back in. We'll hop back in and say hi again, but we'll give him a little taste. How's that sound?
Yeah, I like it.
All right. I'll see you in a few minutes there.
All right, hon. Good afternoon, everybody. How's it going? It is so cold in New York. I can't even begin to explain. It is absolutely freezing. It was 8 degrees when I went to the post office today to drop off some books for people that ordered them. Yeah, it's been absolutely crazy. I have a really good friend on right now, Occult Priestess, who we're going to get into the astral realm and consciousness. And she is like a black belt at this stuff. And I've got a ton of questions lined up, but as usual, I don't have them written down. It's just I fit them in as the conversation goes on. I don't like the pre-recorded questions like they do in late night TV. Just wanted to welcome you all. I was on Coast to Coast till like 3 a.m. last night, so I'm a little tired, but I have my energy drinks, my soda. So I don't drink energy drinks anymore, but I have my soda, so that should be fine. Again, this is not a podcast. This is something that I'm doing because I bring the people who are most influential in my life and the people who are the most interesting in my life. I want to introduce them to you. So let me introduce you to Occult Priestess right now. Hello, darling.
Hello, good afternoon. Freezing up there in New York. How you doing out there? I can't believe you were on Coast to Coast last night. It's so exciting.
I know. Yeah, it was great. It was a little bit of an ambush, to be honest with you. See, the guy who hosted it, Richard Syrett, I reached out to him about 2 or 3 years ago. What did you call me before? You had a name for me. You were like,
well, you're Danka.
Yeah, well, Danka, but it was like the Hustler or something, or the podcast, something or other.
Definitely something like that.
It was something like that, yeah. So I reached out to Richard, and I did his show a couple of times. It's called Strange Things or Strange Topics or something of that nature. And I did his show, and then he was like, one day he was like, oh, by the way, I sit in for George Norrie. Do you want to come on Coast? So I did that. And at the time when I did the first one 2.5 years ago, it was strictly astrotheology, and I was completely convinced that was the only thing the Bible was, because I saw Santos and I saw Jordan, and I was like, this is it. Mm-hmm. I've since evolved my thinking to realize that it's more than we could ever learn in our lifetime. There's at least 10 holy sciences, and I started getting into that. So he asked me to come back on, and I did. And we started taking calls, and I'm in the second hour. And what I was talking about was God, basically.
Actually, I went to the website because I wanted to listen to it, but it kept asking for my email. But you can read underneath your show, the description, and the callers and what they said to you.
And if you read that, I got lambasted by a bunch of Christians.
You really did, mister. I'm sure you're still butthurt today.
Yeah. Well, basically, Richard is a Christian. And when we first got together, he goes, I won't put you on if you do anything that denies the divinity of Jesus Christ, because that's what I believe. So I said, okay. So I'm presenting an alternative view. Now, his view is basically that the Bible can be astrologically, but it's actually telling the story. Like Jesus fulfilled the story in the stars. So I'm like, all right, if that's how you want to see it, that's fine. But I started talking about God being infinite and how the religious people say that God is infinite. And I make the case that, okay, if God is infinite, then how do you exist outside of it? And when you make that argument, they don't get very happy. So I got attacked a bunch of times on the callers about that. And but it's fine because I got it out there, and I got some emails. I got some people on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram that reached out to me. They friended me today. They're like, I saw you on last night. You got a lot of balls going on there and walking into the lion's den like that. And basically they were like, it was like you were reading my mind. I'm looking forward, you're a really good find. I'm looking forward to looking into your work. So I had this conversation with them. And yeah, that's basically what it is. Coast to Coast is a lot different than it used to be.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Since Art Bell left, it
used to be people like truthers.
I've met George Norrie, and I don't think he has a spiritual bone in his body, honestly.
Right, but it's people searching for higher truths, this and that. Now
the audience, but usually the hosts are just business people, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's become very political. It's become a very
hasn't
religious.
Everything?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, it's still a great show. It's still, I do appreciate Richard, even though he unfollowed me on Twitter. I can't remember when.
it's still a big deal to be on there, regardless of the feedback or anything, just to get your face up on there. I think that's great. And I'm, proud of you for doing it. And I think I called you like a media whore or something.
Yeah, it was something, but you're right.
But you're just a marketer, and I'm not used to marketers. That's all.
Well, basically, every time you would have someone on, I would reach out to them privately. And it's not because I'm like trying to like steal your audience or like try and get on shows that you are because I'm like obsessed with you. It's because it's because like you guys know new people that I don't know. And when I see a new name and they have a platform, I'm just like, hey, what do you think of this idea? That's the way I treat it. And
I know you're a go-getter, like more than I've ever seen anybody. And I appreciate that about you because I'm not a go-getter. I'm a sitter, waiting for people to come to me.
Yeah. I would love to see where that's in your chart, to be honest with you.
That'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. We should probably visit that when we can.
Yeah, we can get my astrologer Priscilla back on and we can do the charts.
She's good. She's good at what she does.
She's very good. She's the best that I've ever found. And I'm constantly texting her and reminding me because she has a rough life. She does.
Right. I know that. We did that Star Wars show together.
Yeah, but she has such good spirits. And I'm always like texting her and I'm like, listen, you got this. I'm always helping out if I can. And I'm just trying to be, a really good friend to her. And I kind of put the mentality in her to start reaching out to podcasters. And I put a business mind in her. Mm-hmm. She is motivated on her own and she had it on her own, but I don't think she really saw the marketing and the podcasting scene yet. Mm-hmm. So that was it. But yeah, Coast to Coast went till 3 a.m. And you're on the East Coast now, aren't you, darling?
I am. I moved. I'm not as cold as you are, but I moved to South Carolina this past year, a few months ago, and getting used to everything. And it's like 40 degrees today. It's not that bad. It's sunny.
Are you in Charleston?
No, I'm near Greenville, South Carolina. It's beautiful here. And it's quiet.
Yeah,
I came from Los Angeles. People don't know. I came from the pit of hell, about 5 miles from downtown Los Angeles. Very hard 6 years of my life, but I was on a mission from God, and I learned so much, and I'm so grateful. But now I'm just trying to get back to me, myself, and I kind of situation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I always tell people that when they ask me, I say, if you love yourself, if you're happy with who you are and you love yourself, and you can't find love in things like sex, women, money,
the five senses.
You can't find love in that. You have to love yourself. And if you actually do love yourself,
yes, I do.
You have to realize, if you do love yourself, then you realize that every decision you've ever made has led you to the moment that you're at right this exact moment. And if you're happy with it, then you have to accept your past.
Oh, well, I accept my past as it happens. So I'm not really a reminiscer that much, but that's because I have healed myself. I am a healthy psyche and heart. And it's just really rare in this world that someone's done that. So speaking of stealing people's audiences, I am Occult Priestess at occultpriestess.com. I've been a professional soul counselor / psychic for over 30 years. And I'm here to help in this time of the groundbreaking of conspiracy, really getting into the Muggle world. Conspiracy is breaking into the Muggle world, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well, especially so the word conspiracy theory was created by the CIA about people who didn't agree with the JFK narrative. And exactly. then the CIA recently came out and said, yeah, we killed him. And no one gave a shit.
Exactly.
So like they created this term for us, and then they came out, and nobody has attention spans anymore.
That's what they keep saying. That keeps being the excuse, is that everyone's got a TikTok, consciousness. It's too quick and too fast. But I don't even believe in ADHD. I think all of these things can be healed with meditation.
Okay. So
it's just a sick society. And that's what Krishnamurti said. He said it is no measure of health to be well-adjusted to a profoundly sick society.
Right. I've heard that for sure.
Yeah, he's freaking awesome. Everyone should look him up on YouTube. Krishnamurti.
Yes. So let's talk about the astral realm.
He taught Bruce Lee. That's the interesting thing about Krishnamurti. He wasn't just a mystic or a psychic. He taught Bruce Lee to mix the martial arts. So he's a badass. Indeed, Krishnamurti is badass. And I am doing a shout out here from the chat for A-Rem. Thanks for coming back this week, A-Rem. It's always great to have you in the chat and to see you throughout the week on Rockfin. And something Claire said that was funny. She said, George Norrie is like my dad. Like my dad woke up one day and decided to start a conspiracy show, really bad at interviewing people. It's pretty funny, but you know, he's not American. He's some kind of foreigner. I don't know where he's from, but he's got a really dark hair and really dark eyes. Oh, did you have something to add? I just wanted to say hi to the chat.
No, I was just watching our video. It was about to get good. We were about to start getting into the astral realm.
Yeah, that's why I paused it right there, just in case there's any burning questions or burning desires, as they say in AA, in recovery. So, all right. Well, we'll get back to that. I just always, when there's a new chatter, I like to say hi. So basically, you and I, Micah, we're on a bit of a break, and I think that's fun, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll see you real soon.
Nice. Very nice. I've seen these videos of these like Tai Chi yogis, and they get into the fight with like a UFC fighter, and they just get destroyed. So I don't know if you've ever seen these videos, but they practice like Quan, whatever it's called, Quan Go, and Tai Chi, and all these other meditation related, and they just get their ass kicked. But yeah, so let's talk about the astral realm, since this is one of the topics that we have today. So my first question to you that I want to ask you, aside from you defining the astral realm for people who are new, is well, let's start with that. Define the astral realm if you can.
All right, so a little background on me, just to let you know, I know what I'm talking about and why I know what I'm talking about, because so many people out here don't know, and they're just little parrots repeating things that they've heard. So I have been astral projecting since I was born, basically. I was born with sleep paralysis, which some people call a medical issue, but I understand that it is a demonic haunting from the other dimension. And so through that haunting, my fear got so great so many times that I actually projected out of my body and ended up in my bedroom. Sometimes I knew I wasn't in my body. Other times I felt like I was in my body, but I actually wasn't. So I have a long history of astral projection, voluntary and non-voluntary. So our ancient ancestors, who some people would remember are us reincarnated. So we're incarnated, our ancient ancestors, we're them. But we used to know as a collective, as a people, that there was another realm. We were much more in touch with it when we were closer to nature and actually growing our own food and working the earth the way humans should be working the earth.
That's why the Egyptians revered the cats, because they could literally see it.
Yeah, true. And many Egyptians could also see it too.
Right.
And that's the thing. The more that we've come closer in time to the nowness is the dumbest part of all our incarnations, the dimmest part, really. So many people do not remember, and they don't even remember their dreams, much less astral flight. Right. So the astral realm is honestly, it's a different state of consciousness. That's what's so hard for people to understand. It's not necessarily a place. It is a place in a sense that your mind, heart, emotion, soul can reach and exist in, does exist in at all times, living
Would you
or dead.
consider it a dimension?
I would consider it a dimension. So when you're in this dimension, this is what we call 3D Earth. You know, everything's physical and empirical, supposedly. But if you read Carl Jung, he writes prolifically about the psychic part of our lives. So we have a psyche, which literally translates to soul. So psychology is supposed to be the study of the soul when it's the study of the brain. So psychology isn't something I talk about much, but I do talk about Carl Jung because he understood it. He got it. So we go into a sleep state and the soul leaves the body. And where you go depends on your karma and all kinds of things. So your karma and then how you're acting in this current lifetime, if you're moral or if you're immoral, depends on where you're going to go in the astral plane. So I think the first thing is, Micah, how come people don't remember their dreams and don't remember going to the astral? What's that all about?
Well, the convenient answer that a lot of psychologists would say is that your brain is protecting you.
Your brain.
That's what they say, yeah. They say your brain is protecting you. And there's a lot of people out there that do like drugs or drink alcohol and do things that absolutely inhibit your ability to produce the DMT and be self-aware of and become lucid in your dream. But yeah, that's what they basically say. They say it's a brain problem.
We could also say that people who've been in abusive relationships or were abused as children have a natural block in their brain because they're holding back a tide of pain and problems.
And if that gets bad enough, sometimes people get split personality.
Yeah, totally.
Because you see this in TV. In TV, they show you this, guys, everyone that's listening. In TV, they show you this. They always show you every time there's somebody with multiple personalities or like split, they'll always show you that it's the strong personality that comes out to protect the weaker main personality. That's what it basically is.
Definitely. And I think that's a perversion of the oversoul or the higher self. It's actually been replaced with some kind of demonic entity, usually. So I really believe that we are either growing towards the light and becoming more angelic, or we are atrophying in the darkness and becoming a demon. So we're on one or two paths, one of those paths. Right. And so the astral, when we meditate or when we just get really quiet and we are in our prayers, you know, when you're really talking to God, you know, you got God on the phone and you're really there with him. That moment, that space is your soul. That's the true self. And that's the self that travels through the astral.
So do you think that the religious people, like in church, when they place the holy hand on you, the spirit on you, and then the person starts shaking and they have all these videos of this, do you think that's a perversion of the actual truth?
I think that is possible to happen. But for the most part, churches on TV are show business. But definitely that's where they got it from. Where they took it from was the past, was when that actually worked. And there were yogis and mystics giving blessings or Shakti pots onto the people. But we don't really see authentically that going on much anymore.
Gotcha. So people like Edgar Cayce, and I don't think I've ever asked you your opinion on Edgar Cayce, but where do you think he went to get his information? He seemed to have a direct pinpoint line into the Akashic Records. I was just wondering what your thoughts on him were.
It's very, very controversial, but I believe Edgar Cayce was being used by the New World Order, basically, to put it very, very simply, but social engineers, people that wanted us to be thinking about Atlantis and times in the past and it's just the same today. If Edgar Cayce were alive today, he would be into aliens and he would be telling you all about the other planets and the aliens that live there. So this was a new age ruse because of who he was involved with and the time period, everything he was dealing with, and how popular he was and how popular he still is. So I can't say I necessarily believe that Edgar Cayce was as talented and wonderful as we're told. I've tried some of his healing remedies and they did not work.
Okay. We were talking about when you astral project your karma. When I tell people this, and I try and tell people this, I try and teach them, but you really have to understand it for yourself before you can apply it. I tell people that we are not our thoughts. We are not responsible for our thoughts. The ones that just pop into your head or the ones that you self-generate. We're not responsible. What we're karmically responsible for is our actions and our intentions.
That's why karma means action, precisely.
Right. And that's what I try and explain to people, that karma is the universal law. In fact, we talk about the revelation of the method when these elites keep showing us the stuff that they're doing to us. That's because they're terrified of karma. They know it's real. They know it's real. That's why they do that. There was a movie that came out. I don't know if you've ever seen it, called Insidious. It was a scary movie that came out around the same time The Conjuring came out. And
I've seen the picture of it.
In the movie, in Insidious 2, I believe, the storyline, it was really interesting because it's this demonic creature, right? In Insidious 2, there's this child that went to sleep and didn't wake up, but he's not dead. He just can't wake up. And so they brought in a spirit host, and she found out that basically he can astral project. But what happened is he went too far and he explored too far and he got lost. So the father has to go into this astral realm. This is a horror movie, by the way.
This actually happened on the X-Files as well, when Mulder lost his consciousness and went on a shamanic journey.
Right. And then basically the father has to go and he goes through this demonic realm.
Yes.
Where everything just scares the shit out of you. Yes. And he had to find his son and bring him back to his body so that he could come back.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, that was the movie Insidious 2, I believe. I think it was 2. They made a ton since then, but I thought it was incredibly creative to put that deep of a topic in a horror movie, you know? But so what happens when you take me, if you can remember, to your first time you astral projected? And I have a question for you, because I've heard this and I've put this in my books, but I've heard that this happens and I've heard that this doesn't happen. Apparently there's like a tethering device at your belly button that tethers you to...
You're talking about the silver cord.
Yeah, the silver cord. Is that true to you?
For me personally, I have no silver cord and I have gone too far in exploration. So, you know, that may be another story, but you can go too far if you're full of light. There's no boundaries. God is infinite for real. And there are no boundaries when you're really working your consciousness, working your heart, because it really is in the heart. It's not an intellectual pursuit. I wish people would understand that. You have to get out of the intellect into the heart to be able to truly travel and explore. Like an astral astronaut, which is what I am. What was the question?
No, about the silver cord, but my question.
Oh, right. So most humans, I have found, do have a silver. Well, I don't know if it's silver, but they do have a cord tethering them. They see it all the time when they're projecting or dreaming. But
and it's basically so they could find their way home.
They say that because that's more of a non-graduated earth state. So this soul has not graduated from the realms of the earth plane, is still here karmically learning lessons. But once you have found your own enlightenment in any lifetime, I believe that cord is cut and you are an astral astronaut of the universe because you've graduated the earth realm. Why are you still here? Maybe you're a volunteer. Maybe you're a bodhisattva, a Buddhist, and you're here to help the rest of the family along. I saw Micah Dank wave me down. So what's up? What's up, Micah?
I had a couple comments on this because we get into such good conversations. I wanted to bring this idea about other realms too. And I don't know if you know this, but the government, what they're trying to do right now is they are taking architects, like literal architects, and they're putting them in what's called a DMT drip, which is a banana bag of sodium chloride with DMT, synthetic DMT in it that slowly drips into your vein to keep people in a DMT-induced state. And these architects are trying to physically map out the realms that they're in.
Oh my goodness.
That's the black bag stuff that just came.
Are they doing that for the, like, it reminds me of they're trying to bring the astral to the actual through the internet of bodies.
Right. So basically, eventually you're going to have like a map like Legend of Zelda when you play a video game and there's a map. Yeah, they're trying to map it out. And I had a funniest conversation. Do you know who Sean Stone is?
Of course. I just saw that on your channel that you had talked to Sean Stone.
We were talking about how people are bumping into the mechanical elves in the DMT realm, and a lot of people are saying that they're racist, which I think is like the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
That's great. You know, those elves, they're actually fairies. Those are fairies, and they will mess with you.
My other question I had for you is, we're talking about the oversoul, right? The way I understand the oversoul, right? The way I understand the oversoul is it's basically when we pass on, all our experiences and our memories join this giant, like, never-ending story memory bubble, where they kind of, I mean, not to that extent, but basically, when you pass on, you remember all your past lives and everything. It's just when you come down here, you have amnesia because you wouldn't be able to function. Now, some people can remember some of their past lives and know who they are, whereas some people like me cannot. I'm sure with a little bit of hypnosis, or if you worked on me, I would. But my question to you is this, is that, and this is for the audience too, your five senses make up who you think you are and how your mind works, right? How you think, how you perceive things, that me, that I am me self, right? That I am me. And this is how I perceive everything, right? I think that because you don't remember your past lives, this pinpoint awareness that you are at this moment of who you think you are and everything is exactly the same as a past life. You just can't remember it. Like, you think that you're you think that you're unique, you think that you're original, but how do you know that the exact same thought process or person who you perceive yourself to be wasn't already here back then? Do you know what I mean?
Your actual personality, if you're real, comes from the soul. And you are the same person each time if you're doing it right, but very few people are.
It takes a lot of work.
You said before, like, when you die, you get this big old memory, and then you get a part, you become a part, what you were saying, there's terms for these things. So you were saying you become a part of the collective unconscious of mankind, but you don't have to die in order to retain this knowledge.
Right. But a lot of us do. My uncle passed about 10, 15 years ago. My mom was incredibly close with her brother. He was an atheist. He was an atheist for years. And she said that when she started reaching out in the spirit realm to, like, her mother and to him, she said that she was the one that physically woke him up. Wow. Because there's a sort of, can you explain that to people? Because I'm not as good with words as you are. You're much more eloquent. Can you explain to people the idea that you pass, but you're in sort of a suspension state until limbo. Your consciousness. Can you explain that to people?
Of course. Limbo, some call it, but he could have actually been in the dark place too. And so your mother took her light as a beacon, and she shone it upon him, and he saw the light. It's that easy.
Yeah. And then the other message, she messaged him, or she texted him. She did a podcast with him. No, she reached out again to him months later and says, "What should I be doing?" Because she's into all this kind of stuff too. And he says, "Do exactly what you're doing. You're on the right path."
Yeah. And he's still not ready to be giving out advice either.
No.
So that was beautiful. That prayer works, people. And that's just, she could see it and she could understand that it was working for her.
So I tell people the story about prayer. I tell people this story. They had a study in Washington, D.C., which has a high murder rate and a high, it's high for trafficking, it's high for crime, violent crime. But what they did, I think it was in the 80s or the 90s, what they did was,
there was a group meditation, and then they
yes, that's what I'm getting at. They flew in all these monks from the East, and they filled up one of the hotels in Washington. And what they did was they group meditated for the weekend. And what they found when they did analytics was that during that weekend that they were doing that, and I think for a few days after too, the murder rate or the violent crime rate went down 30%.
Yeah, say that again.
I said that the violent crime rate went down 30% when they did that.
And
so you're talking about intention. We're always talking about intention and actions, right? That's what you're responsible for. You can literally change the world that way.
Well, you see, they had to take all these people from the East that have been trained. The thing is if we were to take your thought all the way to the end, we'd still get to Nazis, only they'd be teaching meditation. So it's like, really, we just got to go with the flow of God's story. It's writing out the play. It's not for us to save the world, but it is for us to save ourselves.
That's the idea, is that you fix yourself and then others will find you.
And that's even true. If not, I don't know. Let that be what it is. You might have a really shitty life, but be an enlightened person. That's okay too.
Right. A lot of people have a hard time. You will lose people close to you that you were very fond of in your life when you start to wake up to all this kind of stuff. You just won't be able to connect anymore. Some might be religious and just can't be around you anymore. You do deal with all that kind of stuff.
That's right. So I'm checking on the stream real quick because I got a notification that it was not working. So you guys, if you can let me know if the stream is still streaming. I hope so. Okay. Let's go back to the video just so we can check to see if the stream is still streaming.
Yeah. You're going to play it for another few minutes?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
Break.
So what do we think? When you astral project, I've also heard from people, I don't know if you've ever heard the case of Pam Reynolds, the woman who had the brain surgery, and while she was put under, she had a out-of-body experience, which was actually recorded by all the doctors because they were doing the surgery. And so basically what happened, for people who are new, is she had this brainstem tumor, right? And it was like a ganglioma. And what happened was, they couldn't just operate on it because it would just start spurting blood and leak it. So what they did was they dropped her body down to like 50 degrees, 60 degrees. They stopped everything. They put her on bypass. They stopped everything. They drained the blood from her head. They put clicking devices in her ear because what happens is they put the clickers in, and when the clickers would snap, your brainstem would register. So they had to wait till the brainstem didn't register anymore. Otherwise, she would.
Wild! That is so radio gaga weird.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
science is creepy.
So the other thing that they did too is they covered her eyes with tape. So she's now blind and deaf because she has the clickers in her ear. She's blind. They put her under. They drop her. She's, for all intents and purposes, dead. She has an out-of-body experience where she floats to the top of the room. She explains. When she woke up, she told the nurses that she heard them say her veins were too small and to use the artery, because in surgery sometimes what they do is they'll take an artery and they'll flip it upside down and use it as a vein. That's what they use it sometimes when they do surgeries. And she saw the bone saw that was cutting her head open. She described it perfectly. Christ. So she had this perfect near-death experience or astral projection while her body was completely dead. Now, the thing that they say is, this is the part that's interesting to people, or interesting to me, for example, because we like to think that we're our five senses, our ears, our taste, our eyes. We like to think that these organs are what give it to us. However, when you astral project, They say that you can hear 1,000 times better. You can see crystal clear. Do you find that to be true? And do you have any explanation as to why we have these heightened senses?
I do. You're using your real eyes and your real ears. So in Buddhism, we have a mantra, no eye, no ear, no tongue, to remind us we are not the body. We inhabit the body. The body is a beautiful animal made by God, but we are a soul within the vessel. And so you're actually seeing, like they say, when Neo in the Matrix gets up into the Nebuchadnezzar, into the ship, he's like, man, why am I so hurting? Why can't I can't see with my eyes?
Oh, he said you've never used them.
That's right, because that's the third eye. That's the astral self. That's the true self. And that's what the Matrix, you know, if it depends on how you watch it. If you watch it from a heaven view, or if you're watching it from a hell view, what state of consciousness are you watching the Matrix on? Because if you're watching it on the high state of consciousness, it all makes perfect sense. But it could be twisted and inverted and be the same damn movie.
Now, would you agree that nothing is attacked more from birth than your pineal gland?
Heart. I would say maybe the heart more.
Well, they say you have 3 brains, right? And I know you don't like the term brain, because with the brain, they say you have your brain, then your heart has a brain. That's why you emotionally feel things. It can sense things. And your gut is your 3rd brain. There's most of your serotonin comes from your gut. That's why when you're really into someone, you get butterflies, because that's your serotonin acting up. So they say
Micah Dank is giving us a chemical class. Okay.
I know you like to keep it in the spiritual, but so when you're projecting, are you 100% self-aware of everything? Like, explain to me, you don't have to explain your own trials and tribulations, but how would one work on themselves? Say they detached, they astral projected. How would they be able to work on themselves? And are you completely self-aware of it?
I am completely self-aware of my astral projections. There's many times at night, it's neat, but it's not necessarily special anymore. I lay down and go to sleep. My eyes are closed, but I can still see the room. And sometimes the room becomes a different room and I'm somewhere else. But that's my consciousness, obviously not my physical body. Again, this is why I don't believe people think they're physically abducted by aliens. I don't think so.
Right.
I think they took your mind. They took your consciousness and you went on a trip with them. And that is a form of kidnapping. There's voluntarily going astral and there's involuntary. If you're not laying down and you've read a book about it or you've had some instruction and you're actually trying, if you're not doing that, then it's involuntary. And I think that's a big topic that no one ever talks about how our consciousness is kidnapped. But you ask, like, how is a regular astral projection for me? My body gets all tingly and warm and loving and gooey, and I just feel like I'm weightless. And it's like the opposite of sleep paralysis. It's the opposite of demonic attack. It's much more heaven-like. And it's usually when I've been eating well and sleeping well, then I will be gifted with a state of consciousness. And I know it's time to go lay down, even if it's in the middle of the day, because I'm being called. That's a telephone call from above. And so I go and I lay my gorgeously feeling, loving body down on the bed, and then I go. So it's an automatic response. It's not something I needed to study, because obviously I've been doing it since I was born and also in my past lives. It's just normal. I'm a priestess of many lifetimes. So it is normal for me. And normal for a lot of you guys out there too. Right. So this is the way it usually happens with people, is that you get tingly or some kind of gooey, lovey feeling, and you just got to go. You got to lay down. But there's also the sleep paralysis attack, which is the opposite side of that. Right. And that's also astral projection. Your consciousness is taken to the hell realm. And you can hear, like, the collective unconscious of humanity, which is a vibrational band above us, as well as the hell realm is a vibrational hell realm above us. this thick layer of ick, of dead people, ghosts, violence, war, everything you could think of. That's what it sounds like, and that's what it feels like. But beyond that is the heaven realm. So we do have to go through hell to get to heaven.
Right.
And if you're just starting astral projection, then you must be committed to your morals. You must know your morals. You must understand that you are an energetic being and that you are either working for the light or the dark. And you need to know that you're working for the light, for these things, for the astral plane to really greet you with love and blessings. Otherwise, which is very, very normal, you will be greeted with your childhood traumas, the gatekeepers and the guardian at the gate, as Joseph Campbell would say. So you are going to come up against some warriors of some type when you're first trying to do this. That's why it's most important, I believe, to clear out the subconscious, which means heal those childhood wounds and anything that society messed you up with. And that's what I do. I'm a counselor. I help you heal those wounds so that you can be a conscious, creative human and be ready for astral flight and not have to go through demons and dragons and darkness and all your ancestors, because that is usually what's waiting for you.
Right. Now, a lot of people who have near-death experiences that say they go up to heaven and they see people and people go, it's not time yet. A lot of the times when they do that, I'm wondering if it's the same thing in the astral realm as a near-death experience. A lot of people say that when it's time to go back, usually a loved one will kind of push them, and it's almost like diving into a pool back into your body. Is it a similar kind of thing when you astral project?
No, I would say it's different, because when you're at death's door, more of your soul is gone. Okay. Like maybe all of it. But I retain part of my soul in my body to keep it breathing and alive. And so when we have something called, that we've nicknamed, astral whiplash, when you get slammed back into your body because there was a fear or something happened and you're like, crap, and then you're back in your body, that can cause headaches and feeling like you're hung over, like for real. It can really cause problems. Astral whiplash, we call it. It only lasts a few hours, but it's pretty harsh.
So I have a question now too. Let's talk about, I would like you to explain to people who are new to this or who are just starting to figure this out, the astral realm versus remote viewing, because I feel like they could be conflated. Do you know what I mean? Conflated. So please give us all your information on that.
Okay, so first, back in the past, we had something called a medium. We still do, but mediums were like Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet. He had to go to sleep to get his info, right? That's because he was going somewhere else. He was leaving the body, so to speak. So the thing that the military came up with to try to one up the psychics and to get their military in better shape, basically, what Men Who Stare at Goats, that film is about remote viewing and what the military did with it and still does. And there's actually documents you can look up on the internet that are astral projection documents from the government. And all of these.
For people who don't know, the idea, but many of you have seen the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats. The idea behind it is these trained psychics were able to just focus their energy on a goat and stop its heart. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, right?
Yeah, they also use the astral projection for spying. This goes back to theosophy with Blavatsky, which takes us back to Krishnamurti. So Krishnamurti was kidnapped by the Theosophists at age 14 and raised by them to be the world savior, which he later put the kibosh on and did not do. But he was trained like an MK Ultra child to do that by Theosophy. So what Theosophy did was train children, many little girls around 9 years old. Emma Britton was one of them. Dark Journalist talks about this. But they trained the children, which is, it's really terrible to send kids into the astral without anything, at all. You shouldn't be doing it. But they were doing it for spying for their social engineering. They were in cahoots with governments, and they still all are. I'm telling you, it's the same story. It's just, we call it the New World Order now. So Theosophy is a very brilliant example of how they stole children and made them psychic spies.
So can you define Theosophy without getting away from it? Can you define Theosophy real quick? If you had to boil it down to just like a headline for people, because a lot of people hear Blavatsky and they run the other way.
Good, so, they should. But I mean, if you want to check her out, go ahead. But to me, she's on par with Aleister Crowley. And Theosophy is Luciferian. They admit it, and they call a lot of their papers and work Luciferian. And Lucifer Trust eventually ended up as the United Nations. So this stuff came from the past, but is now still here working in tandem with the New World Order. So they kidnapped the girls, they kidnapped Krishnamurti, made them psychics, which is a form of soul rape. Actually, it's worse than actually physically raping a child. And that has come down now all the way into the military and to remote viewing. When people tell me they're a remote viewer, click, I hang up the phone immediately. And almost sometimes if they're a medium too, because why? They're working with the lowest band of energy possible, the hell realm. When you're working with a medium, they talk to the dead every day. They are in the hell realm. Okay. So it's like, where would you like to work? Well, I'd like to work way the hell up here, please, away from all the darkness. But this is where the New World Order gets a lot of their power. They are working with that band of vibration of very negativity, and they're bringing it here. They are the vessels for it.
Right. I had this conversation with, I forget, I think it was Nate Gillis. He's the demonologist that I have on all the time. And we were talking about the fact that the one thing they don't teach you, they don't teach us, that people should learn, is that our emotions are so powerful, they're multidimensional.
Oh, very true. Where's kaleidoscope? I mean, can you see it when you think of emotion? Can't you just feel it and see it like fireworks? Like it's our psychic world. It's real.
It is. Absolutely. And that's why they work with the evil parameters, because they feed off of our negative loosh.
Okay, Sam Tripoli with the loosh. All right. Woo! Shout out to Sam Tripoli.
I don't think he came up with that word, but I honestly
uses it a lot.
Yeah, I just use it because it's like one word that describes the whole idea. So
true. I'm wondering who came up with doing it live, because everybody says it.
So remote viewing, you see a lot of them. In Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol, they had a remote viewer, and basically you see them, and it's no different than people who are like channeling, I think.
The dead, because they're working in that darker realm.
Right. But you see them with like a pad, and you see them drawing things and trying to make out like different items. And you see the same thing too when psychics come to communicate with the dead, they have a pad, and then they're writing down everything. Usually they write down what's being said to them. It seems like it's like a similar process across the board with that. But I think what is the purpose of staying in that lower realm?
That's the power of materialism. It is all about the ego. They're all feeding their ego. They're in service to self.
Right. I tell people that that's kind of why I reject Satanism and Luciferianism, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the devil or Satan or any of that kind of shit. I tell people that I reject that because, to me, in their tenements, in LaVey's tenements, they talk about the obsession of the self. Mm-hmm. They don't believe in Satan. They don't even believe in Satan. The only one...
Well, many of them don't, but some of them do.
A very few of them do. The only people that believe in a literal Satan are Christians, because Satanists don't. It's just an allegory. And
Lucifer was very real for the Theosophists.
Correct. It was.
And still today, believe me, I get asked to join Luciferian orders all the time, and they do believe in Lucifer.
Right. But they're kind of misled too, don't you think?
I think they're all misled. Of course they are. But you know what? That's their free will choice, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Right.
But also, I would like to clarify that I am a channel. I'm not a trance channel. I don't have to be all weird. I'm just a living, waking channel. I have my spirit guide, Hermes Trismegistus, the god of Greece. And I talk a lot about him actually on my channel at Rockfin. It's rockfin.com/occult priestess, my channel. You can also find me on YouTube, of course, with Micah Dank. So yeah, that's what I'm. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I want people to check out your work because you are just a wealth of this. It's absolutely incredible. So
I've been doing it since I was a teenager. I've been Wiccan, and then when I was about 23, I dedicated to Buddhism, which really straightened me out in so many ways. But then Wicca is the practice of the cycles of nature, which will also straighten you out as well. So when I came into my spirituality, I was scared of life, really, because I had this boogie monster, this bully on me all the time. And that's why I was always reaching out for God. Where is God? All I see is the darkness. And it was a really hard life, obviously. But coming into the light is so beautiful and wonderful. I was born into the light, but when you are a loving vibration on this planet, you're going to get attacked. And they want us to feel ashamed and bad for being beautiful. But the truth is that they're hunting us, and we've been hunted all our lives, all the lives.
So, so spiritually, you get that. Now, when did you discover, you're looking for God out there. When did you discover that?
I always knew like God loved me. I was told when I was little. I was raised Jehovah's Witness. But I developed a personal relationship with God like nobody's business because I was having nightly nightmares. I was being stalked by a demon. And so that made me uber spiritual. And it was part of my development. It was what God wanted to see in me. Like, okay, let's put all the pressure we can on this little seed, Corinne, and see what she blossoms into. And so there's no difficulty. When I think about my past, it was hard, and most people's hair would have turned white and they would have killed themselves. But I'm really proud that I'm still here today.
Very nice. So
I'm popping us back in with no warning whatsoever. Good thing you.
So I came up with another question that I wanted to pose to you. Do you have any shout outs you got to give from the chat first?
I do. I want to shout out our friend and professional healer, Sarah G, is in the chat. So go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to compare two things that you might not have ever thought go together, but I want your spiritual take on it, okay?
Yes.
You're familiar with synesthesia, right?
Wait, no. Give me that again. Like
synesthesia. Synesthesia is like people that can hear colors or see see. It's when things get crossed. I think that's a beautiful merging of the infinite, right? So I see synesthesia as a positive thing, whereas numbers can be shapes and things like that, where you could smell colors and things of that nature. This is a real phenomenon that people go through. I see that as a very positive experience of having a slightly different experience on Earth. However,
wait a minute. Shh. Do you smell that? That is an example of synesthesia.
However, I think that if that being the positive one, having synesthesia, I think that the negative aspect, I would just like you to define spiritually what you think is going on with schizophrenia.
Oh, it's a possession.
That's what I thought.
Dead people.
You
have the one fractured psyche, the wounded child, we'll call it. That's the major psyche of the body. But then you have dead people trying to work out their karma through this body that's on Earth that doesn't happen to belong to them.
I would believe that over the literal. Absolutely. It makes complete sense.
Believe me, I've asked this question of many astral friends, and they all have the same answers.
Really?
Yeah, that's how I learn my stuff. I don't necessarily read it in books unless they're ancient. And I'm like, oh my God. And they give you like that piece of the puzzle you needed.
So, and they'll show you too, because when they show you mental patients, the drawings that they do, they'll show you the demons and they'll show you the people that are coming at you, right?
Yeah, one of my favorite articles on the internet is called What a Shaman Sees in a Mental Hospital. So I've been in a mental hospital because I'm so psychic. I predicted Fukushima, and as it was going on the television, I was there in the psych ward, and the people who knew my story, which were, the staff, they were freaked out. Yep, I predicted that Godzilla was going to eat an Asian country. Boom, Fukushima. So, thank you so much, Ian. Ian comes in with his Superman cape and saves the day with a $5 tip. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate that so much. And I even have a little thing for you. Woo woo, thank you for the tip,
Thank you
Ian.
for the tip.
Singing him a little song. Happy Saturday. Okay. So we have a little bit left on this video. So let's get back into it and save our questions for the end.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
You've always known that God was inside you too. You've always known that.
Yeah, I never had words for it until I was older, of course.
Right.
Because we don't understand, but we
when
feel
we're talking about the children that were being forced to remote view, people don't realize this, but I talk about this, why Jesus came back at 30 to start his ministry. And I talk about Saturn worship. I talk about your Saturn return, the return of Saturn, which is every 30 years. He leaves when he's 12 because he gets bar mitzvahed because he's a Jew. And then he comes back at 30 because the Jews have roots in Saturnalia worship. And they said, you could not be a teacher until Saturn returned. Do you find that in your life? Did you have a Saturn return story? Did you have like an enlightenment experience when you were 29 and a half, 30 years old? Do you find that to be true for yourself?
So Jesus came to me when I was 30 and helped wake me up. So I was already Wiccan, already understood old ways, ancient things. I did not understand conspiracy or what this world was all about. Sure, I knew the Catholic Church burned all the witches, made us slaves, did all these things, but I didn't know all of that crap was still going on today. So at age 30, Thoth came to me, Hermes, and Jesus, and they all put me through a rigorous education that whole year. So that was my awakening too at age 30. Now I had a Saturn return around age 27, and that's when my ego died. And so it went from ego death all the way into being initiated into heaven through these gods.
So do you find yourself still growing spiritually every day? I mean,
well, maybe not level, every day.
I meant that loosely, but like at the stage that you're at, just with how much you understand about these realms and everything, do you find yourself coming into new knowledge frequently or periodically that advances how you think? Like, are you still growing, Priestess? As
for real, there's always a question in my head. That's why I'm Wonder Woman. I am woman and I wonder, right? So that's what I do. I always have a question in my head. So that if you always have a question in your head, it will be answered. Mine get answered within 1 to 2 weeks. So that's what happens to me. I just like get something, I start chewing on it. Like, what is this topic? What does this really mean to me personally as a soul? And then the answers, they just slip right in and like, oh, interesting. Now, only if I would write that stuff down, we would have a fun book.
You know, for me, I find that it's interesting because I find that when I was younger and I was drinking and I was doing drugs and I was doing all this kind of stuff, I found that karma kind of built up over time. To me, karma built up over time and then it would whack you. And then it built up over time and then it whacked you. But when I really started to live in the light
Yeah.
I find that, like, if I step out, karma comes a lot quicker now.
Bam, yep.
Yeah.
It's going to give
So
you
it
back
seems like when
the
you're
big
making
back.
bad decisions constantly, it allows it to build up. But like when you start living in the light more often and you step out of line, it's like it reassesses you immediately. Do you find that to be true?
Well, I happen to know through asking questions to my spirit guide that karma is magnetic in nature. So if you understand how magnets work, then you'll understand completely why you get the big smack when you're in the light.
And magnetic is the feminine, isn't it?
I believe it's the interplay between masculine and feminine that makes it magnetic.
Gotcha.
And therefore, we could say it is the play of darkness and light that is also the magnet.
Right. Right. So as far as I have this thought that the reason that when you start to discover all these esoteric and hidden sciences and a lot of people can't handle it or you lose your mind is because we are lied to and not shown any of this ever.
It's true.
In a perfect
it really
world,
peels the brain apart.
In a perfect world, how would you raise a child with all the knowledge that you know? How would you give them your knowledge so that when they go out and see the real world and see how they're being lied to all the time, they could spot that ahead of time. And then they don't have to go through a mental breakdown when they realize that the Bible is allegorical or things like that.
That is such a beautiful question. And believe it or not, it's something I think about often. I'm wondering myself, how could I teach a child to be perfect, right? How would that even work? And so far I've come up with, you have to move away from the city. You have to live alone with the child, do the farming, do the seasonal work, and nature will actually do the rest. But also understand that people are born with their personalities already intact. Their soul already has karma and they already have work to do. So it would have to be a perfect marriage of events and circumstances to bring about a perfect Buddha child.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You know, Einstein said that if you can't explain something complicated to a child, then you don't fully understand it.
I agree with that.
And I'm wondering, how do you even begin to touch these topics with a 6
You
or
meditate with them.
7-year-old?
You have to bring them into a state where they're quiet, where it's not cartoons and all these things that go on in everyone's head, not just, adults, but children have a bunch of crap going on in their head. So you have to come to a stillness point, which a child can do easier than an adult. And then in that stillness, I mean, for me personally, I would bring God in and let God speak through me to the child, because that's divine and beautiful. And I never let my ego get in the way when teaching, especially someone young and impressionable like that.
Right. It just seems to me that children are easily frightened by new ideas or new things.
Well, I wasn't, because of sleep paralysis.
Right.
I was already afraid.
Right. But for the most part, and it's the same thing with adults, I guess, because
yes, it is, because most adults are adult children of alcoholics. I mean, everyone is acting like an adult child pretty much.
Right. It's where we need to go is what it is. And I think we're in the age of Aquarius now. I don't think this is going to happen in this lifetime of ours, Priestess. But I do think in the age of Aquarius, people are going to wake up. I do think in 1,000 years, if we do it the right way, we're going to ascend. But if we do it the wrong way, we're going to have a new religion. That's what I think.
Oh, that's very, very interesting. But you understand already, God is the playwright. So all we can do is be our best self and go with the script and the play. So if God said, it's going to be another 1,000 years of crap, people, then that's what we're going to have to put our boots on and go ahead and go get in the trenches. Right. So it is what it is. But the thing that's magical that we're talking about today is the escape from hell, from the matrix, to be able to say at any moment, I'm going to my bed and I'm going to go to the other world and I'm going to enjoy myself there. I'm going to get some soul light. I'm going to get some food from manna from heaven, right? And then come back into this and do your work from that energetic, loving space. Mm-hmm. So it's important. Meditation's so important. If you want to astral project or see the other world, then you must start to meditate.
Right. Can you give us a couple tips on how to start for new beginners? Because what I tell people is I can't sit there in the lotus position and just, that's not me.
I don't suggest lotus position for Americans, for Westerners, because it's painful. The reason why the yogis do it is because it's painful, because it helps their meditation.
I heard that when you do this, you're actually making a nervous connection here that goes directly to your brain.
Well, yeah, and then that would be the heart.
They're going to call us Illuminati because we're doing this, by the way.
But this is called mudras. They're
mudra,
in Buddhism, and it's yoga for the hands.
So I tell people to fire gaze, light a fire pit.
That's nice because you're kind of zoning out.
I tell people to light candles, and I'm kind of torn on whether or not to get scented candles because I've been using non-scented candles, but my wife put on a regular candle because I was having like a rough day yesterday, because I had to deal with coast to coast, and I knew I had that at like 1 a.m. And so she lit a candle. It was scented, and it kind of helped too. What you do is you stare at the flame, which is
right,
and it lowers your blood pressure. Yeah,
that's the important part.
You can really become one with it. But if people were to meditate the missionary way, like you do, the missionary position of meditation, how do you walk us through it? How do you set yourself up for it?
Well, the thing that helped me the very most when I was about 16, this shaman guy, Ken Day from Cincinnati, where I'm from, he told me, I was like, I can't meditate. I don't know how. I was very, very, very frustrated. And he just looked me dead in the eyes like a teacher. And he said, you see the leaves on the top of the water? Like, yeah, I see leaves on top of water. He said, let them fall to the bottom. And when you're done, you'll be meditating. So I took that home and boom, it worked. It was like good. He gave me a Shakti pot, like a blessing.
That's good. I like that. So how do you prepare yourself? How would somebody start to meditate if you were to tell them how to begin to meditate?
Everything begins and ends with prayer in my world. Everything. If you're working alone, you're working with a full, period. So I always reach up to the God and Goddess, Lord and Lady. I do it every night. I still pray every night for everyone and myself. But so that's why it's like so rote in, uniform and ritual for me, because I've always done it. But I invite them in, God and Goddess, Lord and Lady, like I am your creation. I am your daughter. Please come and help me in this astral form. And so that's what I do. That's what empowers everything I do, is by reaching out to the God and Goddess. And you want to talk to the one true God, go for it. But I just find that vibration is very high for me. And it's hard for me to reach the one true God all the time. So I go through his emissaries, the God and Goddess.
Right. People, we talk about vibration a lot, people. And I want you to understand, you've all experienced the higher vibration. If you've ever had an orgasm before, you're literally vibrating at a higher level. Okay. It's not always like that, but that's one example. And that's why people chase it so much. Now, my last question.
Yeah, only if they chase meditation like orgasms, we would have we'd have peace on earth.
Absolutely. And it's different for women than men. I always tell people this because men, when you practice semen retention, you can control your urges. You can control your urges. You're not ruled by your dick anymore. But when you orgasm as a male, when you release, it depletes you. It depletes you of zinc, and it
really
depletes you of your energy. And
that's why you're the inferior sex.
It is, because women, they have orgasms and then they can go mow the lawn, which is ridiculous. They have multiple orgasms and then they go and they freaking do something insane.
It sure
Whereas
can
men
empower
pass
us.
out.
But you understand, you're giving a lot of your energy to your female partner.
Right.
You know that, right?
Right.
Because we're the ones who have to hold the child in our bodies. So
Right.
it's a
Absolutely.
little petite mort for you, but a whole 9 months of hell for us.
Yes. Yes. Doesn't seem fair, does it?
I don't mind. I like the mechanics.
But this is why women were revered in the Egyptian times, because women were revered because they were the portals to bring in a new life. Women were revered by the men, revered. And then the New Testament comes out, and the Jewish people write that women are the cause of sin, and it's been downhill ever since.
Woman is a temple built over a sewer, is what they said.
There you go. So my last question to you, I guess, before we wrap this up is, are you someone who has ever tried psychedelics or have any positive experiences through psychedelics, or is all this all natural? And you know what I mean by all natural.
Well, I'm all natural, but
Yeah.
at age 16, I was in a very bad situation and I took LSD to try to kill myself. That was my plan. If I take LSD, I've heard rumors, I'll be able to kill myself. So what it did is it saved my life. It turned on my pineal and I saw rainbows and beauty and God and Hare Krishna and everything. And I said, oh my God, I forgot all about this realm. This is real. Oh, wow. So it woke my soul up, through LSD, which I do not suggest personally. I suggest more ayahuasca or mushrooms, something like that. But I've done all the psychedelics, and I'm very proud to be able to say that, because as a psychic, you should explore psychedelics very safely, very calmly, not in a party atmosphere, but ritual and serious.
Out of all the psychedelics,
it's like lubrication for the soul that I'd never had before. I always got like ripped out of my body and thrown back in. But the psychedelics like make it a smooth experience. And I can see and know and hear the other side so well when I'm on one of those. But also I wanted to put a shout out to the cactus, to the cactus San Pedro, because that was like drinking my spirit guide. Like he was just there and he was there for hours and we just could hang out and talk like real people. And so I definitely say go for it if you have cleaned up your mess, if you're a moral person, if you feel kind of okay about your childhood, if you've done some work.
That's the same thing with things like marijuana. Like, these are just going to put a mirror in front of your face. Like, you can't run and hide from yourself. Like, when you're sober, when you're dead sober, you can put up things to block.
Your social mask, yeah.
Yeah, you could put up a mask. That gets removed with psychedelics. That gets removed, especially with marijuana. That's why a lot of people that don't have their thoughts under control when they take marijuana. If you take marijuana and your thoughts are under control, what you're going to experience is you're going to see things differently. You're going to hear things differently. You're going to see beauty and depth in things. It's going to slow your mind down a little bit. You're going to be able to appreciate new things. What you're going to see, colors are going to be a little more vibrant. What's going to happen if you're not in that state is you're going to have the paranoid experience that people have on marijuana.
Yeah, people I call it's a boxy brain. You're like trapped in your consciousness and you can't get out.
And you start thinking about all the things you've ever done that was negative. And
oh no, it's terrible. It's like let's do a joyride through hell, kids.
Have you ever done Bufo or DMT?
DMT, what was the first word you used?
Bufo, toad.
Oh no, so I haven't done the toad.
No. Which one of all of them do you think, and I'm sure they're all spiritually helping you and they all show new lights and helped you grow as a person, but which experience did you like the most out of all the high psychedelics?
Well, you do acid, other people have done acid and it's kind of normal or whatever.
How much acid, how many tabs did you do, by the way?
Sorry?
How many tabs did you do?
My first time I just took one, but my God, on a psychic, it's like taking 20, but my favorite is ayahuasca because you work with her or him, whatever you prefer. Mine had a male voice, but you work with it and you're with your counselor, the ayahuasca, and it can take you anywhere, past, present, future, into your body, out into the cosmos, whatever you need. So I think that ayahuasca is the future, honestly.
Did you happen to have, because a lot of people talk about their ayahuasca trip and they say that they basically, they got diarrhea or they threw up the whole time, even though it was mind-blowing and changing. Do you find that happens often, or that didn't happen to you, right?
Well, I understood what was happening to me as it happened, which is so cool about me, right? So as I was feeling nauseous on ayahuasca, ayahuasca said, "You're resisting me." Like, oh, and they said, "Feel the resistance," and I would, and I'd be like, "Oh, now feel the relaxing." Oh, and so it lets you feel your body, and you react as it talks to you.
So when I talk about people, I talk about the fact that I have no issue with marijuana. I take edibles from time to time just to relax. I can't really record videos when I'm on an edible because my short-term memory tends to go a little bit. Like I forget what I'm saying.
But you could probably wax poetically like nobody's business.
Probably, yeah. But what I tell people is the worst drug you could ever do is ecstasy, ever. And it's not just because it's never because it's a mix of a ton of different drugs. What ecstasy does is we talk about the Christ, the chrism, the oil that goes up your spine. The thing that ecstasy does is it dries out your spinal fluid. Even from the first one that you take, the first pill that you take. Sure, you're going to have a great experience. You're going to have all this. And the one thing they always told you is never have sex on ecstasy because it'll never measure up again. But that's what they say. But don't ever take ecstasy, guys, ever, because it dries up your spinal fluid. And that's your chrism won't be able to rise. And with practices like semen retention or stuff, things of that nature, you can really rise your chrism. And then it gets crucified in the place of Golgotha, Jesus, which is the place of the skull, which is the two hemispheres, which is the pineal gland. So
it's really strange. I'd like to tell you that most of my boyfriends I've had in this life could hold their semen and knew the trick of how to do that. And I think that's really weird that I've met so many, well, not just met, but loved so many men that knew that technique, which convinced me, man. I knew these people in past lives and they were around me. I was spiritual, so they knew spiritual things too.
I always say that because I'm practicing semen retention and I do that. I say when I'm finally ready to have a kid, my wife's going to give birth to like a 5-year-old.
That's hilarious. I would love to see more of your wife. I just have never seen her anywhere near you on video.
She doesn't want to be a part of it. She doesn't. She said, "This is my thing." She doesn't want to be a part of it. She does.
Tell her I said hi anyway.
Of course, I will. Priestess, this has been amazing. I want to do this again with you soon. We'll do a bunch of other topics. Do me a favor. Tell everyone your social or how they can get in touch with you, and explain real quick too. Or not even real quick. You could take your time. The kind of work that you do, because I do in my channel, people do email me. People do email me and they say, I'm having this issue, I'm having that issue. When you start to put yourself out as a public figure and you say things that resonate with people, they open up to you like a book for some reason. Yes, I think it's part and parcel. Yeah, I'm sure you've experienced that too, right? People just, and I'm fine with that, you know.
I think it's beautiful.
It is. But if anyone should come my way and have specific issues, explain to me what you can help with.
Thank you. Also, remember, we're going to meet on the 24th of March, right?
Right.
So we'll be doing another
that's
video.
Jordan Maxwell died March 23rd last year. We're going to do a 1-year memorial in memoriam on Priestess's channel. Where you're not going to make 1,000 videos. We could do that. We're going to have you're going to make a bunch of videos. You're going to find a few videos of Jordan. You're not going to make the videos. You're going to find a few videos of Jordan. We're going to bring people on. We're going to converse with them. We're going to hear how Jordan has helped them. He was the first person that introduced me into everything. So yeah, Priestess, how can you, what services can you offer to help people? Because people who have had, it's always, when you get into our sciences that we talk about, this kind of esotericism, you don't get to this level of understanding and being able to follow this wild esotericism unless you've had a rough time in the past. You have to overcome hell, as you've mentioned before. And a lot of these people share their hell with me. So what can you do to help them?
Well, I am a healing salve on the wounds of forgetfulness. I bring you rememberfulness, wholeness, selfness. I bring yourself to you. And when that happens, we can both talk to God together. So I do regular counseling. You can see my website, occultpriestess.com. Occultpriestess.com. And so I do regular just counseling, just, about the kids, about the husband, about your life, about your soul. But then I offer very specific services of going into your subconscious, finding your soul, and taking it beyond that threshold into the heaven realm. So I literally take people somewhere. Most of them have never remembered going. And I love that part of my job, that I can just forget the ego, forget, the counseling kind of stuff, and grab their soul and take it back home and have a session with love.
Priestess, there's a fine line that you can walk between having an ego, but it is okay to feel really good about what you're doing if you're good at it.
Of course. That's being proud of yourself. You should be proud of yourself. Totally. Right. That's not egoic. That's love. And you can tell the difference because it feels different.
So where are you on social media so people can reach out to you?
So Twitter at Occult Priestess, and that means you can message me on Twitter as well, private message. I'm occultpriestess@gmail.com and also occultpriestess.com. But please subscribe to my Rockfin channel, ROKFIN.com/Occult Priestess, and please come see me over at YouTube. But I have now, in the past year, I've had 2 strikes for medical misinformation. So I'm doing something right over there, but I'm not censored at Rockfin. So I hope you do come over. And in fact, today is 2/4/2023. This evening, between 5 and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be live. So come see me over there. And Micah, I loved your questions today. It was wonderful to be with you again. And man, you just make it so cool that I can hang and chill and I don't feel scared and nervous and weird at all. I feel like we're both just sitting around the living room having a chat.
We are. We're on the same wavelength on very, 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 very many things. And now that you're in South Carolina, I've got a friend, Frantic Missy. She lives in Charleston. So now that you're on the East Coast and you're way closer, eventually I'm going to make a trip down to South Carolina and we'll get together for a weekend.
Oh, I would love that. And then you can meet Freeman Fly, my neighbor. In fact, I'd like to put in just a little note. Next Saturday is my birthday. February 11th, me and Alex Jones both turn 49 years old. But I'm going to have Freeman Fly of FreemanTV.com sitting right here, live. We're going to live stream together. It's my birthday present from Freeman. So next Saturday, check us out on Rockfin.
Priestess, I absolutely adore you.
I love you too.
I'm going to send this over to you right now, okay? Everybody, guys, reach out to her. I'm telling you, I only bring the best people that I know. These are the people who are the farthest reaching into your mind, bringing you wealth of information. If you've had a rough time and therapy is not working or medicine's not working or you have issues like that, consider, I'm not telling you to drop everything. I am not. I'm saying is literally what do you have to lose to let this woman try and help you? Okay, she's a pure soul. You have to be able to see that through this interview. You could see because we wear there's no masks. So guys, love you tremendously. Priestess, thank you. I'm going to email it to you in a minute.
Thank you.
Okay?
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Bye, hon.
All right, there we go. Awesome sausages. And my teeth are doing it again. It's my lighting. because of the green screen. But if I get really close, I think it's stopped. Nope.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll learn about lighting one of these days. How are you doing over there? How are you holding up, Micah?
I'm great. That was great to revisit.
That was a lot of fun. You and I do well together, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking over in the chat real quick. Thank you again, Ian, for the $5 tip. We appreciate that. Claire Mathis says, I took 2 THC gummies once and I was high out of my mind. Very tricky there. No instructions.
Yeah, be very, very careful with the gummies because they're, I mean, at a certain point, like, you just have to go outside, hold on to the grass, and try not to fall off earth.
Dude,
I don't know.
that's when you know you got it good. And that's just with gummies. That's not even a psychedelic, but it's true. Our friend Christy Bray says, wish I could be a part of this psychedelic talk because she is definitely educated. She also is a yoga instructor and multi-talented woman. So they're talking about the guide stones in the chat. And Sarah G says that she loved that interview. So Sarah G, this is Micah Dank. He's on Facebook and so are you. So you guys can get at each other over there. And Claire says, that was a great video. Thanks for sharing again. Yay, Claire. Claire's over in Florida and she's complaining that it might be a little chilly.
Oh, no. I went to the post office this morning. I think I said this in the video. And it was 8 degrees with a wind chill when I went to the post office to drop off. Some people ordered some of my books, so I dropped it off at the post office. 8 degrees.
I am not hanging with that, homie. I am not a cold bird at all. I definitely, I think Florida has really beautiful weather. I'm working on getting used to the South Carolina weather. It's not that bad, even, especially since I came from LA, where, you know, weather is notoriously good.
You haven't spent the fall there yet, have you?
Yeah, I did. I experienced fall and now
I heard it's beautiful.
It was. It's gorgeous. Even when you're driving, everywhere's a picture. It's not mall after mall after mall. You know, there's little bits of that, but it's little bits. And so I really like the old hometown feeling of this place.
Cool.
And you are in the rat race where you are, mister. Okay, we're getting thanks. And Pat Breeze, I forgot to shout you out, our friend at Elf from Twitter. So he is in the chat, of course, talking about Oreos as usual, his favorite cookie. But he also enjoyed the chat, Micah. I think he does enjoy it when you come on. That's for sure. But it's 9 o'clock. I'm kind of winding down myself personally.
Yeah, I have a
second
podcast
time
in an
today,
hour.
right?
I have a 2-hour podcast at 10.
When?
At 10 in 55 minutes.
Oh my God. Where is that? Oh, this is what we do. Where is that going to be at?
Let me see here a sec. Hold on.
Okay, so this is Micah Dank. He is the author of several fictional books about these kinds of topics and conspiracy as well.
It's called Night Talks. Night Talks Radio.
Night Talks Radio. Is that a .com?
I don't think so, no.
Well, we can go to his Twitter at Real Mr. Dank. Mister, correct?
Yeah.
So at Real Mr. Dank, they're over on Twitter, and he will be tweeting out, I'm sure, where he's going next. He's so popular. Coast to coast, Occult Priestess, and now I forgot already.
Night Talks, yeah.
Night Talks.
Although you could also search social media as Micah Dank. I'm pretty sure I'm the only Micah Dank on this planet.
Okay, cool. I've wondered several times to ask you about the origin of your name and if it was the one you were born with.
Micah is biblical. My parents gave me that name. And yes, Dank is my real last name.
Oh, okay. You can see how some might take that as a joke.
Yes.
Where's it from? Do you know anything about it?
I think it's German.
I was thinking so too, and maybe we don't want to go into the history of that. So, but meow, everybody. Happy Catterday. I'm sending you oceans of love, and you're all going to follow Micah Dank if you haven't already. There's several episodes here on Occult Priestess's Rockfin that star Micah Dank if you would like to know more about him.
And watch the Jordan Memorial episode.
Yeah, I'm going to have to repost that within the week that we'll do the new one. So that'll be wonderful to share with everyone. And so many people have lost people over the past year, died suddenly, so many people. So I think it is good to have a memorial service.
Yeah.
It's good for our mental and psychic health.
It really is my favorite episode I've ever done. It was just so healing. It's so powerful, guys. Watch it.
Oh, that's really sweet. I'm glad that we could make that piece of art that is timeless and that we can share it whenever. That's beautiful.
I think he would have been I think he would have been blown away that the three of us got together to do this for him.
I agree with you. I think he would have been super touched. I wish we could have done it when he was alive. We knew he was on his way out though, you know.
Yeah, one of the last Skype conversations I ever had, he didn't even recognize me, and he was telling me to go to his website because up there he had all the information about maritime law, and he just didn't recognize me. He was just reverting to talking points, basically. So I was like, this is very sad, but yeah.
Well, we'll get into that in March and I guess that'll be...
We'll save it for March.
It's the 24th, so it's actually the sun will be going out of Pisces, where, you know, people cry and drink too much, and going into Aries. So this could be a very emboldening, empowering evening as well. Not just, you know.
That's right, because it's still an Aries cusp day, so it's still got the Pisces energy. Yeah.
Sweet. But it's also moving forward with it all, I guess, is my point, you know, not be wallowing in the past, but saying, hey, we're going to pick ourselves up by our bootstraps and prepare for this year of the rabbit that we are into now. Oh, Micah, you're such a wonderful guest. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you, Priestess.
Tell us all about where we can find you, like everything.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Micah Dank. I have a YouTube.
Oh, we have your name spelled. Never mind.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, Micah Dank Truth Bombs, and on my channel I have 3 playlists. There's a lot of videos, so you're probably best off going to the playlist. The first playlist is an astrotheology playlist where I have like 35 or 31, whatever, videos of different books that I've decoded with the cipher based on astrology of the Bible and of other texts too, outside the Bible, like the Emerald Tablets, the Enuma Elish, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Code of Hammurabi, the Quran. I've done all these books. The second playlist is interviews that I've done with, like, you could find a Priestess's interview that we just did today. And then the third playlist is called Truth Bombs, and it's all this sort of information that I have that I just share in 2 to 6 minute clips, and I call them Truth Bombs because they really are. They're meant to blow.
Yeah, and you post those often, which is great.
Yeah, my book series is called Into the Rabbit Hole. My 8th one just came out. I just have so much information. I'm running out of like mediums to do it.
That's wonderful, though. I mean, you're really being an artist. You're living the life of a creative man, and that's, you know, that's a great example to set.
Thank you.
And you're in recovery too, so kudos for that as well. And then you have a 5-year anniversary coming up. I mean, you're just doing you're winning, dude. You're totally winning.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So I will talk to you soon. Much love, everyone in the chat. Come find me on social media. Let's talk. I'll send you some of my best work.
All right, you guys. Say good night to Micah Dank. Good night. And I'm not focused. I'm trying to look like a mime or something. But I'm just reminding you to come on back next week when we will have in the flesh the real Mr. Freeman Fly, the legend, the OG of conspiracy here in the studio, as they say. And it's terribly exciting. So happy birthday to me. And thank you so much for the tip, Ian. We appreciate you. And anyone else that tips afterwards, know that I am sending you blessings and love. And thank you all for being in the chat with me this evening. So, as we say, OP out.